Hello and welcome to today's live. So today we're going to be talking about PCOS and blood sugar because I get so many questions about PCOS. And really, here's the thing about PCOS. It is, in many cases, not all cases, but a great many cases, PCOS is directly influenced by what's going on with your blood sugar. If you have blood sugar dysregulation in any capacity, it will make your PCOS worse, 100%. And when you resolve those blood sugar issues, what you do is you bring relief of your symptoms of PCOS. You know, I say reverse type 2 diabetes. I say I cured my eczema. I say to people that you can reverse your PCOS. But what I mean by that, and to be clear, is that if you change your lifestyle, if you change the way you eat, the food you eat, how you eat it, your mindset, the way you live, and not just in a way that is like everything you do is bad, but you learn how to create a framework around some of your not so good habits, but you create other really good lifestyle habits around it so that you can still live. That is what is going to bring you healing from PCOS, type 2 diabetes, inflammation, eczema, psoriasis, you name it. But if you return to your old life, your symptoms will all return. Your conditions will all return. And that is to be expected. And so when people say, well, you can't, reverse PCOS because you always have it. Like if you continue to live in a way that supports having PCOS, then absolutely, you always have it. But if you change your lifestyle and PCOS goes away because of that lifestyle and you live that lifestyle, one would deduce that you no longer have PCOS. That's how I see it. So one of the things that I always say to people with PCOS that I work with, that I talk to, that ask me questions, is that when you have PCOS, you need to be mindful of what you're doing around your food and around your meals so that you have balanced blood sugar in between meals. Because that is such an influence, again, on how PCOS is presenting in your body. When you balance your blood sugar in PCOS, it can help to lower your androgen count. So if you experience facial hair loss, like doing things to lower your blood sugar and therefore lower your androgen count can mean that you start to feel relief from those symptoms. If you are experiencing, a lot of inflammation around just like your PCOS in general, bloating, if you have bloating, if you have painful periods, if you have all of that, what is going to happen when you start to balance your blood sugar and reducing your inflammation and going a little bit deeper to things like gut issues and such, what you're going to do is you're going to create balance in your sex hormones, which means that you experience your period differently. You are going to start to have more regular cycles. You are going to have cycles that feel not ideal. That's the wrong word, but feel really understandable. You're like, okay, I feel myself ovulating, or maybe you don't feel yourself ovulating, but you take your temperature and you know that you do. And you have cycles that are, within 26 to 35 days. That is what doing things with your blood sugar in relation to your PCOS can help you do. And if you've never been taught about blood sugar or told about it from your doctor, that's what happens. They don't really know about these things, but just consider that the drugs that you are prescribed when you have PCOS, metformin is one of them. Those are also prescribed to people who have type 2 diabetes because of its effect on your blood sugar. So that is also something to consider, because then you can, again, draw the line now to, okay, if I can learn how to balance my blood sugar naturally, I can start to experience the same effect. Also, just want to remind everyone that you can put your comment or question in the comment box and I'll try and answer. Someone said, I've had my period since Christmas. How do I stop it? Wow, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. You must feel really drained. So the first thing that I would do, if it's within your wheelhouse, and you can get a good affordable supplement, is liver. Liver is a bone and blood builder. If you are losing a lot of blood, you're going to feel drained. Your iron is going to be low. And sometimes taking iron pills when you're dealing with, potentially some liver problems, PCOS, gut issues, can actually make your gut feel more upset. But if you take something like liver, you can take desiccated liver supplements. Perfect Supplements in the US is amazing. I have the US forwarder to my Canadian address. So I buy things from the States and just comes to me. So I really like their liver pills. Their desiccated liver is pretty amazing. I would start there. And that's just going to give you energy back, first and foremost, give you some remineralization. It's just so nutrient dense. You can also eat liver, but I know for a lot of people, they're like, ugh, I'm not eating liver. But I love pate. So, I mean, that's me. The next thing that I would do is start to, we have to start to find where the gaps are, like where the things are. So if you're not eliminating effectively, that's something that you need to do because you need to get the excess hormones out of your body really quickly. And how they come out quickly is through our waste in a lot of cases. So going number 2, getting your liver up to snuff. So you're going to want to do a lot of liver healing and gut healing. They kind of work in tandem. And then, of course, blood sugar balancing. Once you do those things, you will start to notice you feel better, you have more energy, and hopefully your period stops. If it does not stop, that is when you have to go get deeper diagnostic. Maybe it's blood tests. Maybe it's, you could do like a Dutch test, which is urine samples. You could do a stool, like GI map, which is poo. All of those things will help you get to the bottom of it. But again, that's like where you start. But you can also just go to your doctor right now and be like, what's happening? Help me. If you haven't done that, or if you have, okay, I do what I suggest. Okay, so just like furthermore to your question and to that point is like, the period is a really good, metric. It's like our next vital sign in a sense. It's like, because if our period is off or something is going on, it can be a really good, like, canary in the coal mine of like, hey, there's something going on in your body, not just your period. Your period is just potentially the symptom of something bigger that's going on. And not, bigger isn't like, oh, you should be scared, but just like something that's more root cause, just not your period. It's just your period is like manifesting it. Someone says, I never get mine. I never get my period. So again, both of these conditions can be rooted in sort of like the same thing. So the pipes are clogged, as one of my favorite guru, Amy Raup, says. And so, balancing your blood sugar is going to be huge. Every person that I know that like works in the space that talks about like period and period wellness, they talk about like balancing blood sugar 100%. That is going to help in both scenarios of like not getting your period and getting your period. It's going to help just bring your body back into balance. And the thing that I think about blood sugars, a lot of people think still, even though we're knowing so much about glucose and blood sugar, a lot of people still are like, oh, well, I'm not diabetic. Like, why do I need to be considerate of my blood sugar? Everybody should be considerate of what is happening when they eat the food that they eat, because you want to, make sure that it's not having a negative effect if you already have something going on. Some people are not superhuman because they're human still, but their body has an amazing ability to bounce back from things. And so like they just, if they have like blood sugar disruptions or whatever, they're like, their body bounces back. They don't get insulin resistance. They don't get PCOS. It just happens. Some people are like that. But that being said, some of us aren't that lucky. I'm not that lucky. I know that I'm not. I had terrible eczema from my neck to my ankle. My insulin was resistant. Like my gut was messed up, my liver, like the whole thing. Like I was all the things. And I know that if I return to the way that I used to be before, in terms of not being mindful of these things, then I would absolutely be sick still. And inflammation, which is what all those start as, was like taking root in my body from a long time. I just didn't pay attention until it became something like, I needed to pay attention to. And like I said, if you have any questions, you can post them in the comment box. I would love that. But so there's different types of PCOS. That's also important to know. There is insulin-resistant PCOS. There is post-pill PCOS, which I kind of argue with that in just a little bit, only because I feel like if they say post-pill PCOS, it's like, well, maybe you had PCOS and the beginnings of it when you were young and maybe prescribed the pill for period pain or whatever, but for whatever reason, they just put you on the pill and that was it. And then when you come off the pill, now you have PCOS. It's like, well, maybe you had it the whole time and they just missed it. I think that there was a question, sorry, and it threw me off. So I think that sometimes like post-pill PCOS is like not really titled the way it should be. And then there's also like in post-pill PCOS, that more is like you still have the same symptoms, but it's rooted in a lot in like liver and gut issues, simply because you've been taking the pill for so long and your gut and your liver have had to do with that what they've had to do. And that is like a lot, especially on a young body, you know, like if you have been on the pill. And like something that I say about the pill is that when the pill first came out and like our mothers and maybe even our grandmothers, depending on like how old you are, were going on the pill, they were going on the pill for like maybe a year, maybe 2 years, because they got married young, they had kids young. You pretty much went off the pill when you got married, like, you know, back in the day. But now, and, you know, starting in like the late 80s, early 90s, you're putting young women on the pill at like 12, 13, 14 to help regulate their periods, not prevent pregnancy necessarily. And they're on it for 20 years, 25 years. And so I think that is why we are seeing so many instances of PCOS, because people have been put on these things for a long time. And it's like being on anything for a long time is not necessarily that great. Someone said, how would you start the journey to balancing your blood sugar? It's so much to tackle. Well, the first thing that I would do is get the blood sugar workshop, because I teach you all the fundamentals, seriously. But my first thing would always be like apple cider vinegar is one of the easiest things that you can start incorporating into your life, into your diet, that will help you start to become more insulin sensitive. Because the root of, you know, type 2 diabetes is like insulin resistant, and you want to be insulin sensitive so your body knows what to do, and the insulin cues in your body are all making sense for what you've eaten and how you've eaten, and it's like there's nothing dysregulated. That would be where I would start. Apple cider vinegar is great. 1 to 30 minutes before you eat something, and 1 tablespoon to 8 ounces of water is the ratio for blood sugar balance. That's where I would start. And then also moving your body. Like you got to start moving, because you use a lot of excess glucose through like your muscles. So moving your muscles, like those are the ones that I recommend almost like universally and widely, because the other ones require like a little bit more like know-how. That's why I say get the blood sugar workshop, join the blood sugar fix. Oh, there's a sale right now on private coaching with me. So the sale is 20% off, like a 1 session with me, and the blood sugar fix is 25% off until Friday. So that is just something I want to mention. But some of the deeper stuff that we like talk about, certainly in the blood sugar fix, and if you were to have a session with me, would be like gut health, you know, liver health, inflammation. And those are things that require, I think, a little bit more guidance than I can just say on a live. But you can make a huge difference with starting to incorporate apple cider vinegar into your diet, into your routine and your food routine. You can make a lot of headway by starting to move your body more intentionally. Go on Amazon and buy like, you know, weights. I wear these on my arms and my legs, because when I'm talking with my hands, it's having like more of an impact on, again, just like how my body feels, but also if I eat something sweet and sugary, it's, you know, helping with that. I don't really eat a lot of sweet and sugary things, but again, that's not why we're here. So those would be the 2 things that I would say start now. Someone says, have I tried the carbonate bread from Costco? If so, what do I think? So if you are in the States, I am envious. Because the availability of so many foods that you guys have at your Costco's, Trader Joe's, like I'm jealous. Because I don't know what you're talking about, and I assume that's because your Costco has this carbonate, and I haven't been to a Costco that's had carbonate. So I don't know what to think. I'm sure it's probably like something low carb that helps, like doesn't spike your blood sugar, but it's like something like that. But I wouldn't know. Sorry. What test should I request from my doctor to get tested for PCOS? So it's actually tough to diagnose PCOS. And I think that's why like people sort of like run afoul for a bit and they don't get diagnosed. You know, they say like, they like start to treat your acne before they realize that maybe it might be connected to your like hormones. Maybe your periods are bad and you have bad acne, but they're not like connecting the two. But you have to also, like, what makes you think you have PCOS? Because you have to go into any exchange with, like, I think a doctor, like, prepared, but also, you know, what are you going to say to him? Like, what, I'm asking you, even what I think your doctor might ask, like, what makes you think you have PCOS? Because that is going to be the biggest tell as to whether you're going to get the testing or not. If you don't get the testing and you are feeling like you just want to get it done, you can go to like a naturopath or something and they can do the testing for you. You can also do a Dutch test. You can, and like do it all yourself and they'll send you the results. And then you can take it to a naturopath or someone and they'll, like, you know, read it with you and help give you like supplemental advice. Because that's going to be the thing. And also, once you get the diagnosis of PCOS from your doctor, what you are going to then be given is like medication generally. So do you want to go that route? You have to ask yourself that. That's a personal choice. But if you're trying to go the natural way, I would start first, just like even as you're like searching and figuring out what you're going to do, just start to understand your blood sugar, because again, that's going to help so much with how you're feeling. If you think you have PCOS, it's certainly going to help, because that's just going to give you some like relief. And then you can figure out what to do, because if you want to do like a real like pharmaceutical slant, going like the doctor route, and again, no judgment, but going the doctor route is like the way you probably should go. That being said, if you're hoping to do it naturally without much of that kind of interference, at least for a little bit to try it out, you might want to try it out before you go and get those testings. That's just my opinion though. Again, not your doctor, so you have to kind of like figure that out for yourself. But that's just my opinion. Someone says the difference between the blood sugar fix and the blood sugar workshop. The blood sugar workshop is just a 45-minute workshop, and there is like a recipe booklet, some apple cider vinegar recipes that help you understand all of the blood sugar hacks that are going to help you reverse your type 2 diabetes. It's great. But it's just sort of like you watch the workshop, you can download the PDF and do all of that, but there is no like, it's not like I'm coaching with you or anything. You're just watching the workshop, getting all the information, getting the downloads, and that's that. Yours to keep. You have access to the website as long as you have an internet connection. The Blood Sugar Fix is a 12-week program. So we deal with all of the pillars of truly reversing your condition. PCOS, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, prediabetes. You are excellent candidates for this course. So we do blood sugar is the first level. We talk about that first. There's live workshops and also like videos that are helping you like sort of like find your way. There's also recipes. And every time we meet, we have a different pillar to talk about. So blood sugar are the first two pillars. Then we talk about gut healing, liver health, all of that. And then we talk about inflammation. The thing about, I order it in that way because you have to deal with blood sugar before you can think about your gut. Because if you are repetitively having blood sugar spikes and dips or eating things in a way that is having a lot of blood sugar in your body, what's going to happen is that you're not going to be able to actually do anything about your gut and your liver, because every single time that you do these blood sugar things, you're having an impact on them. So you have to deal with the blood sugar first, and then you deal with the gut. And because if you are still having like gut disruptions every time you eat, that causes an inflammatory response every single time. And so you can't think, okay, I need to reverse my inflammation without thinking about doing your gut and your liver first. And that's why it's the second pillar. And the third pillar is inflammation, because the thing about inflammation is once you inflict it, as it were, it's there. Inflammation, so it's not something that it's like you have inflammation, you don't have inflammation. Once you create inflammation in the body, you have to do something about it. It doesn't generally just resolve itself. And that is why that is the third pillar, because once you have stopped having these blood sugar responses and these glucose events, once you have dealt and started to, clear the pathway through the liver, you've started to make harmony in your stomach and in your gut, then you can deal with the inflammatory damage that has happened to your body. And that's why it's 12 weeks, because it's a lot. That was very long-winded, but it's because there's a lot of stuff to cover. And so that is like the program where I'm like, I can do the most for you within that. But that being said, a one session with me is great too. If you have just like one question, one thing you really want to tackle, 75 minutes, Zoom, we talk about whatever you want to talk about. You get the recording and you also get like sort of like a starting plan to like get going. Because I think that it's nice to have a lot of things on different levels. I also have my free newsletter. I send that out now like once a month just because I'm getting really busy. But I send the newsletter out once a month and it's full of like real actionable ways to help with your blood sugar and help with your just like helping you feel better and understanding how to do this from a food perspective, understanding the science behind it, without having to commit to something financially. I will say that. And then there's these, of course, that are free. But that's the difference between the blood sugar fix and the blood sugar workshop. The blood sugar workshop is just a workshop, but the blood sugar fix is like a full 12-week like transformation. I hope you join. Just scrolling for questions. The next cohort starts for the blood sugar fix on May 1st, so next Monday. And then I'm always taking like private clients until I'm like not, you know. But you usually find out if I'm taking private clients right this minute if you send me a message and I'll let you know. But right now I am taking private clients starting to book into May, which is crazy that it's like going to be May. Oh, and in the blood sugar fix, there's also 2 private calls with me. I feel like that's important to mention. So the private call, there's one at the beginning, usually, hopefully, but now we're getting into the week before we start. But I like to do it before the program starts so that I can sort of like understand a little bit about you and help you like understand how you're going to make the most of the course, how to pace yourself. And then there's one in the middle at the like 6-ish week. You know, schedules permitting, we try and get it around the 6-ish week. So that it's like, it's a touch base, like how's everything going? What's going on? So then again, if there's anything like that hiccups, I can help set you on a successful path forward. So I do want at the end for your numbers to be reflecting that you've been doing this work for 3 months. I want at the end of the 3 months for you to feel better, for your A1C to be going down, for you to be sleeping better, not getting sick, like your skin is clearing up, like your period is like amazing that month. And then the months thereafter, like that's the thing that I hope you get. Meal planning is also a big part of it because I think that sometimes a lot of programs like start and they give you all the information, but they don't tell you really how to do it in like a real lifestyle way because I'm a chef. I've also trained in nutrition. I can kind of give you both because I was a private chef for years for like very high-end families in Toronto. And so I know how to plan a meal. I know how to be efficient, effective, gourmet without necessarily having to do a lot of work because, you know, why work harder when you can work smarter? And those are all things that I impart on you. Like yesterday I said, and I'll repeat, one of the best and free meal planning tips I will like tell you about is before you plan any meals, before you even think about food, I want you to go in your kitchen and I want you to get rid of anything that is broken, that you don't know what it is, that is super old, that you never use. If you never use it, put it somewhere else. And really start to understand the space. When you are meal planning, a lot of time and energy is wasted by just like going back and forth. Does this thing work? Do I have that thing? Do I not have that thing? If you go in there and you audit your whole kitchen and you look around and you say, what do I have? What don't I have? You clean your fridge, you make space, you know, energetically, but also like physically within that space. You are going to have way more success at meal planning. And I know that because I have gone into spaces big and small, fully equipped and so ill-equipped. And the best thing that I did was like get myself organized, make the space my own. I always did that. And you know what? It was like, it felt easy at the time. I mean, I'm not a private chef anymore, but when I was, I really had it together and I impart those on you. Someone says, do I still have the skin class or will I tackle skin and eczema in the blood sugar fix? Skin and eczema are a big part of the blood sugar fix just by way of virtue of all of the things that eczema and skin are related to. Because again, I was an eczema sufferer big time. Eczema and skin is like heavily covered. Simply because again, when we start to talk about the root cause of like gut health, gut whatever, that is when you start to like talk about your gut and heal your gut and your liver. That's when your skin clears up. That's when your periods get better. That's when like the real magic happens in a lot of ways, like long-term magic. Blood sugar is like going to make it so that you're like, oh my God, I don't have any cramps. That's crazy. Blood sugar is going to make it so that you're like, oh, I slept through the night. I haven't had that in a long time. Like, blood sugar is going to give you that because that gives you energy to get to the root causes. But root causes are going to like make it so that you're like, oh my God, my period was 30 days and it used to be like 65. Like, that's when you start to go deeper. But again, long answer to a short question, because that's like my favorite thing to do. Yes, skin and eczema are tackled in the blood sugar fix. So important. Also, the thing about skin, and like that really was like spiraled me out when I had eczema, was that it's like, it's what you like present forward. So people see of you before you like open your mouth. And it was like one of those things where it's like, it really was in my head. And so I'm happy that I healed it, but I know that I had to really work on like my self-perception when I was doing my healing, because I was feeling really gross. And that sucked. But we talk a lot about mindset and the mindset of healing. The mindset of healing is very important. I always say to people, like, belief and mindset is like first steps, because you have to believe that this is going to work for you in the first place, or else it won't work as well as it can. You will resist without even realizing that you're resisting. You may think in your head, I want something to work, but because things may not have worked in the past, you might have some resistance that you don't even know is pushing back on things. And until you sort of like speak to that little inner child, you speak to that person inside of you that is scared to do something new, scared to believe that something will work, until you do the work of like sort of dealing with that, things don't work as well. I know that because of personal experience. These things on my wrists are weights. I like to wear weights around my wrists and ankles. I only wear them around my ankles when I'm like after meals, if I do. Simply because not because they're too heavy, but because like after a while you just like feel like you're like dragging yourself. I hate that feeling. So I wear them around my arms, and then I try and like, be energetic with my arms, which I am. I talk with my arms and hands so much, which you've all probably seen. Yeah, someone says I have these weights. Amazon, I love them. And like the past 2 times they've matched my nails. So I'm like pretty hyped about that. I didn't even intentionally, like, I just think that my mind is like matched to the weights. So again, I just like really believe that blood sugar helps so many things. And one of the reasons I say the blood sugar fix, because saying like so many other things, I could call it so many other names, but truly at the top level, the thing that is going to give you the energy to do the work needed to go deeper, to give you the relief that you need to be able to like power on and, persevere and go forward, is blood sugar. With eczema or skin or psoriasis, if you are continually having blood sugar and glucose responses, in your body, you are going to have flare-ups, itchy, redness, burning, like all of that is going to come through all the time, because those things cause that inflammatory response. And again, that inflammation is in there now. And once you get the blood sugar under control and you're not having this, there's no more inflammatory response happening. There's no more itching. There's no more breakouts. That was what I experienced. And then again, I had to start going deeper, of course. But there was no more, after the blood sugar stuff, there was like no more breakouts. There wasn't like the itching. I wasn't getting new spots. Because at one point it was just like a new spot every day. And I'm like, I surrender. I don't know what's happening. In the blood sugar fix, we also talk about supplements, universal supplementation. We also talk about testing, which tests to get if you want to go deeper, because some people are like, I'm ready to go all the way. And so I also help facilitate that for you as well. Because I can help you with everything. And I also know that there are ways to get even more information to go deeper. So often in our second Zoom call in the blood sugar fix, that's when we talk about like what kind of things what additional things you'd like to do beyond this course if you do. And then I try and help you set that up too, so that you go into it right from like me, as opposed to, or even while you're working with me, as opposed to trying to like, you end the blood sugar fix and then you're like, okay, well, what do I do now? And I want to do this. And like, I think it's nice to just have someone to talk it out. So if there aren't, get in your last questions. I will be live again tomorrow at 10 a.m., I believe. And also, now's the perfect time to work with me. 25% off the blood sugar fix until Friday, and 20% off a private session with me right now until Friday. But if you have no more questions, I'm going to go. And these are all posted on my YouTube this afternoon. So you can watch the whole replay there. I'll post it in the stories here and on Instagram as well. If you have anything to ask me on Instagram, because it's easier to private message over there. They make it very hard here. So go there to do it. And I give you my handle in my bio. And I think that's it. So again, if you want to join the blood sugar fix, can't wait to have you. And if you want to do a private session, I also can't wait to have you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.